Thanks everyone for joining Elastic LA virtual meetup. Tonight's topic is going to be Fleet and the Elastic Agent. So we'll do a quick Elastic Stack overview, and then we'll jump into the Fleet and the Elastic Agent with Ivan Ninichuk. And let me introduce myself. I'm Rich Horace. I'm the VP of Tech Ops at a company called Edlio. Edlio is an ed tech SaaS company. We provide solutions for 15,000 schools, K through 12, website payments, and engagement systems. I've been an Elastic Stack user since the days of 1X and 6 years in production. And primary use case has been observability. And right now I'm in the process of doing our migration at Edlio into the Elastic Stack. So I'm pretty excited about getting that moving. And I've been a contributor for the Elastic Stack community for the last 5 years as an LA organizer. I've done conference talks at ElasticON 2018 and also Scale Conference 2016, 16X. And I've been a 2-time Elasticsearch Award judge. Quick overview of the stack itself. Really 3 solutions powered by 1 stack. So really, if you look at the solutions, it's really around enterprise search, observability, and then security. And the stack itself is, the core is Beats, Logstash, Elasticsearch, and Kibana. And the abilities for you to deploy either in Elastic Cloud or on-prem, or even through the Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes, or even through your running your local systems. In a typical implementation for Elastic Stack, you'll have Beats and Logstash as your ingest layer, so that they'll be taking your logs, metrics, maybe API calls, pushing them into Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch will store it, so you can analyze it and search it. And then Kibana is the visualization part, and Ivan will do really show the power of Kibana during his presentation tonight. And what's really cool about Kibana the last several years, it's really become more the management layer within the Elastic Stack. It's really that window into Elastic Stack. A lot of the APIs that make Elasticsearch so powerful have been converted into UIs for those APIs. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Elastic Stack community. So there's different ways to connect, like the meetup for tonight. Also, there's the Elastic Stack community Slack channel you can sign up for. And also the YouTube channel. There's an official YouTube channel for the Elastic community, which eventually this video will be also posted to. And also this year, Elastic's launched the Elastic Contributor Program. And basically, it's a contest. So based off what type of contributions you make, whether if you organize an event, do presentations, do a blog post, do some type of video, even translations of different content, you get certain points for that for each type of contribution. And the contribution started, if you've done some things, you can all go back to February 1st, and the end date will be on January 31st. So definitely, if you want to sign up, if you've done some things, I highly recommend doing that. There's some really cool prizes for based off how things will be ranked. The ultimate, the gold, you get a cloud for their cloud trial for 60 days, a training subscription, and one of the certification tests. And same thing with silver, except you don't get the Elastic subscription for the training. And you get some, all of them come with swag and the cloud. But definitely check it out. It's I'm participating in it right now. And it's actually pretty cool. And for Elastic resources, actually last week was the ElasticON Global Conference. So basically a virtual conference over 3 days, over 100+ sessions. What's really cool, you still can register until November 5th. And this is my profile. And what I like about this is, one, you have all a nice selection, but you can also filter. So if you're looking to get started and you want to be beginner, you can see all the beginner sessions you can go through. And say you want to go into an advanced topic, you can also do that here. So really great ways to say, even better than saying, hey, go to the website. You can actually see different companies talking about their experience with Elastic Stack. Also, there is a content hub where you can actually download. So you can download the different slides and so on. And I did notice there is, if I do go back to the main dashboard, there's also some training in here too. So there's some training workshops. So hands-on with Kibana, talking about launching Elastic Stack. So really great content, a really nice time for this to come out. I highly recommend that you guys sign up. And like I said, you have until the 5th to sign up. So even though you would have missed it, you can definitely still enjoy it. And another way to learn is through meetups and giving a talk. Our next meetup is November 18th. I'm still looking for a speaker. So if you're interested, let me know. And December 9th, we actually have Don Thomas, who's actually on today's meetup with us. He's still working out his topic, but it'll be December 9th at 6 p.m. With that, I'll give it to the main event, and I'll let Ivan take over.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name's Ivan. I'm going to be presenting, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So I can do this. Okay. If my screen's not showing up, someone let me know.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Okay. I want you to remember that data is noise without a clear, concise relationship among its data points. Your sources are the dots out there, all coming together to form a message, to form the visualizations, the information, the observability, the security use cases. From so many disparate places, it all flows into one stack, one place where it can be seen, visualized, analyzed, and be used. So I'm going to tell you a story. A long time ago, there was Logstash. And you scoured GitHubs for all your configurations and hoped that everyone shared. It would break down, slow down, but it works. And for some use cases, it's still the way to go. But now we have the Elastic Agent. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. So the Elastic Agent, what is it? It combines the ability that Beats has, but without the need to install all the individual beats. File beat, metric beat, winlog beat, audit beat, all of these combined into one installation, one configuration. So instead of telling your client that you have to install 3 or 4 agents on a machine, configure their modules, everything like that, you now just have one simple agent. But there is a problem with the Elastic Agent. And what is that problem? Well, yes, it's one agent, but there are still many instances of that agent. Imagine an office with just 100 endpoints. That's 100 agent Smiths running around trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. Because in the end, they all still need to be installed. They all still need to make sure to have the same configurations that you need. So in reality, we solved one problem, but created another. Fleet is the one. Fleet is centralized management of the Elastic agent from Kibana. You can provision configurations. You can install agents on endpoints. You create access keys on the actual interface UI instead of having to configure key stores on the agents, on the hosts themselves. And Fleet, more than anything, allows for real-time changes. You can hot load configurations. If you need to add a new source of data, or you need to change a file location because, well, we all forgot that it wasn't the default one, no problem. Just go in it, edit, reload. You're good to go. So let's now see what it looks like. So this is my Kibana deployment. This is being hosted on Elastic Cloud. By the way, like I said, my name's Ivan, and my major use case is a security application. So this is where I spend most of my time. Been working with Elastic for now 2 years. So what you do is you go to Ingest Manager under the Management tab. This is a brand new section. So let's go over some major concepts. The first concept I want to go over is called integrations. I also like to call it the fast food menu. Remember how before we had all those wonderful modules and we kept having to refer to documentation to know, did they exist and could we use them? Well, guess what? Now we have literally a food court. I mean, click this, now you get your Apache logs. Click this, you have Elastic Endpoint Security. Kubernetes, supersize it, why not? MongoDB, system, Windows. And this is just the beginning. The Elastic Agent in Fleet came out with release 7.9. By 7.10, these integrations will double. From what I've heard, on the roadmap is including the integration of WinLogBeat, which is one of the major hurdles right now to using Agent, is that WinLogBeat, because it uses processors, isn't compatible. But like I said, from what I've discussed with various Elastic employees, it's on the roadmap for 7.10. So let's talk about configurations. I have a configuration here made that I call the Windows desktop. And what it is, it's exactly what I want the Elastic Agent to install on any Windows desktop that I onboard. So what I've done, and I'll demonstrate how you make these, but what I did was I put Elastic Endpoint Security, formerly in-game, which is on the free tier now if you're not aware, basic metrics monitoring, as well as specialized Windows logs that are being collected by the agent at this point. Now, you can go into the config and you can edit it, as you can see. So, if you have to make custom changes, you have obviously, file paths, they're not always going to be the same. You may not need certain data. It's all still, changeable by the user. So you don't lose anything, you're just gaining. Here's Fleet. Fleet is literally what it sounds like. It manages all your agents in a simple and real-time manner. Here's Stargazer. That's actually the laptop that you're viewing now on the screen. As you can see, I gave it my Windows desktop configuration. So I actually think this is kind of funny in a way because I'm literally monitoring my laptop with enterprise grade EDR at this point. It's pretty cool. And so as you can see, it's online, it's checked in. These are 2 virtual machines that I use for adversary emulation. They're currently offline. So this also gives another place where you can check real quickly to see if a host is off or online. I mean, obviously there's plenty of ways to do that, but Fleet actually gives you a whole nother way, which is really neat. I like that. As I mentioned, it automatically controls secret keys for enrollment tokens for you. So it automatically creates a secret API token that you then use. I'll demonstrate that in a sec. So how do you start using this? The first place you would go is the obvious button, Add Agent. And then you can decide what configuration you want to use. In this case, I have my pre-made Windows desktop. This is the nicest part. Instead of having to remember the PowerShell commands to install it, it actually gives it to me right there, and I can just copy it to the clipboard using this icon. And basically what it does is it enrolls the agent for you, and that reports back to Kibana, the Kibana API, and you'll then see the agent and its status will be enrolling. And what it's doing at that point is the Elastic Agent is actually installing the different beats that are necessary to collect the data and configuring the pipelines. So it's doing that all under the hood. Everything we used to have to do manually and plan out, it's all under the hood. You literally go to the food court, make your order, put it in, and there it's done. Then just install the service and you're up and running. They also give the commands for Linux command line as well as Mac OS. Now for configurations, as you can see, you can create, and this is literally, watch, I'm literally ordering. So let's say I had a web server, or I wanted to create just a template. We'll just say this is a lamp. They have namespaces. You can, use those to separate things. Tell it whether or not you want the metrics or not. I usually leave it on just because I like the extra data, especially if I'm worried about how something's performing. So as you can see, I didn't actually put any of the, the integrations on yet. So we'll go in here. And now we can just start adding what integrations we want. As soon as my Kibana loads them. Almighty demo gods. So, okay, good. Didn't have to tap dance too long. Okay, so let's say I have an Apache server, so I want those logs. I probably could have clicked more than one at a time, but I just wanted to make sure to get that one. One thing you do have to know about Elastic Agent and Fleet is it is still in beta mode. As you can see, it's in beta release, so it's not ready for your production environments. But please remember that part of being the community is testing these things out. Really, put them through their cycles, break them, and then that makes it better and faster to get it to production. Find the errors, figure out what's wrong, what works, what doesn't. So please, please, please play with it, see how it's going on. So we added endpoint security. I want to see if it lets you click 2 at a time. We'll say we have a MySQL. No, it only does 1 at a time. I'll have to bug them about that. By the way, I don't know if any of you have done this, but you can request to participate in feedback meetings with product designers. So if there's features in Kibana or in other parts of the stack that would make your life so much easier, good quality of living things, they're more than happy to listen. Just come on the community Slack in the Kibana channel, and they would be more than happy. I've had a few meetings with the staff recently when this came out, and it's been going really well. And if you're not sure or you're shy or something, just let me know and I can always help set it up. Okay, so those are the ones I want. So yeah, I went to the food court. Oh, I didn't put endpoint security on there. Okay. I need to give my Kibana instance more RAM, actually. I'll do that tomorrow. By the way, that's a nice thing about cloud. If something's not quite what you want, you can just say, hey, I'll scale it up, scale it down. So especially if you're in a security use case, it's nice not to have to be managing the stack at the same time that you're trying to do something. Oh, it wants a name. Okay. I guess the others must have had a default name. Okay, so I went to the food court and I ordered Apache, endpoint, MySQL, and system. So if I was making a new agent, I could literally now tell it, use web server. And let's say 6 months from now, I'm doing a different agent, but it's the same services. I can also just click web server, or if it's a Windows desktop. So this is very, very powerful because before I would have to script, on the actual host, hey, enable these modules. But now, like I said, it's like going to a food court. You just order it on a menu and boom. So your data sets are the different groups of data that's being created by your agents. And Kibana is wonderfully giving us time to talk about some of the other, here we go. So this way you can actually see exactly what data sets you're covering. This is a really good way to get a granular view of how much memory you're using. So maybe you don't need all these data sets. So you're looking at them and you're like, we need to cut back on the amount of logs. Obviously, this is a small amount, but if you were doing an entire environment, it'd be different. So you could look and see exactly which data sources you're getting and decide, do I really want to spend that much on it? And that's very powerful. Or if you have to make projections, I know when I'm doing platforms for clients, one of the first questions I always get is, well, how much data are we going to have to store? How big of a deployment? And now you can actually start kind of getting a better feel for how much data you're actually storing, especially since, Elastic uses a only pay for what you use model. This is really good to be able to keep track of at this granular level. So there's a few other things. We can come back to this topic itself, the actual interface. But what I was trying to hint at in the beginning with that video was I was trying to get across the concept that all of this collection of data, ingest pipelines, creating the relationships that take noise and turn it into messages, it's a lot more than just the UI you're seeing in front of you. And there's been a lot of changes under the hood. And we're going to look at some of those that make Elastic Agent possible. One of them that I want to get into is how they changed the way that index patterns work. First of all, they've introduced the concept of component templates. What component templates are is it's separating the settings, mappings, and aliases of an entire template into the modular pieces. What this means is you can reuse mappings, you can reuse settings, you can reuse aliases. It's a lot more flexibility when adding new data sources or expanding. So this is a new feature that I actually just kind of stumbled upon, and I didn't even realize they had done. So if you notice, the structure for the index patterns now is logs, right, as like your top. And then you have logs Apache, logs endpoint, for all the different data sources. So unlike earlier where you would have a file beat index, for instance, and it would cover all that, it's been unified. And then as I shown, they're modular. So like, let's say you wanted to use the mappings from log endpoint events, you could do that in a completely different template. You could use those same mappings for different data. It also makes the case a use case for different environments that you might be running. One thing that I want to note as well is notice the thing called legacy templates. So all the previous beat templates, even WinLog beat 7.9.2, which is the newest, are considered legacy now because they don't follow the new component template and naming scheme. The other thing that makes things like the observability application and security application possible is the concept of data streams. Data streams are able to do something amazing. They can provide searches on multiple indices. So instead of having to just look at one log source or one source of an event, you can start doing multiple indices searches that will bring that data together. That's what's really making it possible to bring events that before would be separated into a more unified sense. And I'm going to show you what I believe is one of the greatest examples of this. I'm not going to go into too much detail, and you can ask me later if you want to, but I just want to show you what's possible when you take this to its logical conclusion, where any event in time series data can be grabbed as a single dot, as a single particle in that animation I started with, and turned into that picture. And that's the event analyzer. This is a process that started on my laptop. Funny enough, randomly, this was not by purpose, by the way. It's the Elastic agent that was random. Kind of cool. But as you can see, this allows a timeline visualization, even better than a timeline. It's like it's isometric drawing, making it look 3D of all the different events that are related. So I can click down here and see that the Elastic agent has made 12 network events. I can see that metric beat has done file and network. Just the other night, I was doing some adversary emulation with this, as I was mentioning. I was emulating an attack using Atomic Red Team, where it was as if a bad guy had created an administrative account so that they could break in from the outside. And what I was able to do was I was able to see exactly what was happening. One box was their initial creation of the account. The next box showed all the registry changes. The next box showed all of the processes that were opening and closing. And this is all connected to what we're talking about. And that's why I brought it up in this talk, because without the ingest manager, that wouldn't be possible. Without having all these different data sources connected through these ingest pipelines, through the data streams, the modular templates and such, none of it would work. But when you do have those relations and you have those understandings, then what can be done with the stack is just mind-blowing. And here's the main dashboard. And so it shows you what integrations total possible. Right now there's 37. Like I said, I would not be surprised if that's way higher in 7.10, 7.11, because think about it this way. Things like Zeek, Suricata, WinLog beat, those aren't even on there yet. So there's a lot of expansion coming. It tells you how many you're actually using. So how many are actually installed. So now I have 5. It shows on the fleet tab here, it shows the number of agents total, how many are active, how many are online. One nice thing, it also shows you if there's an error. So I don't know if anyone else had this with Beats or Logstash, but whenever I would turn one on, I would set my, Kibana on to 15 minutes in hope that I saw data. You're sitting there going, please, 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 just work the first time. But if you didn't see data, you had to go back to the log on the source to see what was going on, or to even have an idea that there was an error. There could have been several different things wrong. But now Fleet will actually report, one, that there's an error, and two, it'll try to give you a context of what happened. So I think the main thing I'm trying to get across here is what was mentioned, which is Kibana has become a management tool to the point where a lot of the heartache of going, manually into logs, going manually into configuration files is luckily being gradually moved away and being moved into the Kibana UI. This is also all exposed through the API. So if you wanted to automate this with, some sort of program application or scripting, it's perfectly possible. The agent configurations, total available 3, configured integrations 8. And then, like I was saying, how many different data sets are you pulling in, and the size. So this is a massive, just in this one screen, this is a massive amount of information that you wouldn't have before. Last year, I thought it was amazing when I could manage my Logstash and Beat configurations from Kibana. And I was so happy to have that. But this is just mind-blowing that just a year later, now I can see the data sets, I can see the sizes. I'm only dealing with one agent, and I have one way to deploy them. I was actually on a project last year, and I was actually asked to basically make something like this at the time. And I was looking at using Ansible and such. And luckily, I went to ElasticCon in February that was in Anaheim. And I mentioned this, I think it was like the last in-person Elastic meeting thing, convention before COVID was like, no, you can't go to anything. Kind of like there was that RSA that some people went to right before, we all got put indoors. And I was talking in a small security group, and I asked about the best way of automating Beat installments. And I told them, I'm trying to use Ansible so that I can change configurations and auto load and all this stuff. And luckily, the Elastic developer I was speaking with told me about Fleet and said they didn't go into too much because they couldn't, but they basically gave me one word of advice: just wait for Fleet. And that's probably the best piece of advice I had, because yeah, this is just mine. Again, this is just out there with what this accomplishes. So it is still in beta. Again, if you find any errors or you have any ideas of how to make it better, totally jump on the Slack, the community Slack. There's always users, community members, Elastic engineers. We're all on there chatting about, giving ideas out. Obviously, the GitHub page is another good place to make issues, especially if there's something that's broken. I know I've come across some errors installing the 7.9.2 agent on some virtual machines, and we've been bringing those up. So there are still, some bugs, and that's what we need you all for. Install it, use it, break it, because that's the way we're all going to move faster into production. So I like to keep this as fluid as I can. I probably have more to say, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up to Q&A, and we'll see where we go from there.
All right, let's see. Does anyone have any questions for Ivan?
Any questions on integrations, or if I went through the install too fast, anything like that?
So have you done this with customers yet? Or what point are you? I know you said you've been doing some consulting. Have you tried this? That use case that you talked about at Anaheim ElasticCon. Were you able to get it up and running, or?
Yes. So it's kind of funny. COVID, funny enough, the period of pause worked out for me. Because the project, I'm a freelancer through Upwork. So companies come to me and say, we need this platform. Can you do it? I say yes. And then, we come out and do it. So when they wanted that level of automation, I was working through it. We were going to do it. With Ansible basically as our main control center and some PowerShell stuff. But because of COVID, the project ended up being put on pause. And then recently, last month, I was discussing it with the client, and once they saw exactly what Elastic Agent and Fleet is, they've started the project again. So we're getting full go ahead to start our beta deployment using this. So yeah, we're going to be able to put this in a real environment and really hopefully put it through its cycles. Find those bugs, find the fixes that will make it better. I know one thing that I've already suggested based on the project I'm doing. Basically, the project is a managed security service using Elastic. And so one of the biggest issues, obviously, a lot of people have is multi-tenancy. When you have multiple customers and you need their data to be, locked out from certain view, things like that. Now, obviously, we can break that down in user accounts by index and fields and documents even. But when you have a lot of data coming in, you don't want to have to alter a lot of the index names. Even with tags, it starts to get really difficult, because then you have to make a different configuration for each customer instead of just being able to do what I just did, right? You wouldn't be able to just use Windows Desktop for everybody. You'd have to create a Windows Desktop each time you have to onboard a customer. You would have to put in the configuration, the tag that you're using. So one of the improvements that I suggested was that, and from what I hear, they already had a similar idea in the pipeline, was that the agents themselves receive a tag. Okay, so instead of just a fleet agent, you would also have agent groups, and then they would be assigned. So it's basically group access. You would be able to lock down group access using Kibana spaces and accounts. And so let's say I put all the agents for customer A in the customer A group, then I would be able to lock it down to just their customer A Kibana space and specific account access. So that's one of the improvements that I talked about with the product developers. I talked about it with some of the security designers as well. And like I said, a tag system like that is in the works. I don't know if it's going to be exactly, what I just mentioned. That was just my run through. But, that's what I'm trying to get across is really, think about your use case. Because that was one of the biggest challenges in that project for me, was I had to deal with multiple customers in a single, environment. And think about what challenges you're having and how the product can be improved to meet those use cases. And the more you voice your opinions and share them, the better everything's going to get.
Cool. Wow, it's a very good presentation. Like the first time I've really seen this deep dive into Fleet. Any before we wrap up, anything else? So no questions. So I got so we put in the links into the chat. Thank you very much, Ivan. I think you did a great job. Very creative introduction and
pulling
it all together. Now you made me hungry.
I know, fast food all the time.
Hey, Rich, we do have a question in the Q&A. Somebody was asking, what version are you running?
Oh, okay. So the stack that I'm running is 7.9.2. Elastic Agent with Fleet starts at 7.9. Now, the funny thing is, you'll notice that these agents are actually 7.9.0 and then another one 7.9.1. So as long as you're in the 7.9s, you're good. Obviously, if this was production, I would keep those a little more in line. But yeah, the stack itself is 7.9.2, but as long as you're in the 7.9, the feature's there. Oh, and it is there on the free level. One thing I should point out, and I totally forgot to mention, is you do have to have all the security settings set up. So like the SSL between your nodes, the SSL with Kibana and everything. The good thing is that not only is all that security free now on the free tier, but there's also a free Elastic training. It's like an official training. It's, you know, it's not like, I mean, as much as we love our tutorial videos that community members make, they're great, but it's actually an official Elastic training that helps you towards, you know, any certification you might want to, you know, that level of knowledge. There's a lot of free ones. I don't know how many of you have been taking advantage of this, but Elastic, to give us something to do during the COVID crisis, has made a bunch of free training available. You know, the on-demand training that they use, you know, that you would get. And one of them is how to secure the stack. So if you do happen to, you know, if you run the stack locally and, you know, you're wondering why, you know, it'll say, hey, you don't have the security set up. You have to do that first before you can use Fleet and the Elastic Agent. Then, you know, just go to the Elastic site and they have the free trainings, and, you know, then you can learn an even cooler skill, which is, you know, how to set up all that wonderful SSL together. Or you can use Elastic Cloud like I do. Now, I've been using it for a while, so obviously I'm not on a free trial anymore. But the cool thing is like, let's say you're just like, oh, this is cool. I haven't played with it. I just want to get, you know, see how it works. Or I want to play with Elastic Endpoint Security because, you know, it's the new toy kind of thing. You do get 14 days free. So you could just go right now onto Elastic Cloud, sign up. They don't require a credit card for the 14-day free trial, which is sweet. Sign up for your 14 days and, you know, play for your heart's content. So that's the fastest way to get going. But like I said, if you do want to run it locally, you have to have all the security enabled and set up. But there is even a free training. So, you know, every step of the way, there's always assistance. And if you have questions, the community Slack is always there. If you're on Facebook, there's a Facebook community group as well. So there's a lot of ways to talk to people. I know I'm always willing to take questions. And if I don't know them, I go find someone smarter than myself. So, you know, it works.
Yeah, Ivan, I did have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Don.
Hey, can you go back to the integration screens?
Sure thing.
What I just want to see what's available.
Okay, so we can go over them.
Yeah.
We got Apache, AWS, Barracuda Web Application Firewall, Blue Coat Director, Cisco integrations, Citrix, Cylance. Oh, this would have saved me. I had to make a Logstash pipeline for this last year. So I was so happy to see this because they use a type of they use one of those non-standard syslogs. So yeah, I'm happy to see that. This is a cool one in Elastic Endpoint Security, formerly Endgame. Literally, you just order it. Big IP Access Policy Manager. I actually don't know what that one is. Hat proxy integration. Obviously, the SQL Server there integration. Wow, I really don't know some of these. Imperva Secure Sphere, Infoblocks, Neos, Juniper, Junos, Kafka, Kaspersky Antivirus, which is good, Kubernetes. You can collect your custom logs, so you can set up your own custom. This is how you would do that if you needed to add some sort of custom logs and you wanted to manage it through the Elastic Agent. That's how you do that. MongoDB, MySQL, NetFlow integrations, Arbor Peak Flow, Nginx, PostgreSQL, Prometheus, RabbitMQ, Radware, Defense Pro, Rapid7, Nexpose, Redis, SonicWall FW, Squid, system, again, that's like your basic system metrics, Tenable Network Security, Nessus, Apache Tomcat, Windows integration, which at this point is not WinLog's beat itself, so you're not going to get like the Sysmon stuff. At this point, that still needs to be done separate, but like I said, on the grapevine, I've been told that it's up and coming. Next version possibly. Zookeeper, Zscaler, and SS. So the main ones that are missing are the ones that have special processors. There were some integration difficulties, but they're doing some workarounds. So I would imagine if something's missing here, but we already have a pipeline for it, it'll be there in the next version or so.
Okay, cool. I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I posted the free training in the chat channel, and also Phoebe said that if you guys want a 30-day free trial, shoot her an email and she can get you set up on one.
I'm about to do a like total shameless advertisement. What's funny is I think I'm still sharing.
Yeah, you are.
Awesome. Okay, so if you want to like a really more detailed instruction set, this is the blog I wrote that was basically the outline for this, but this is a lot more step-by-step, explains what everything is, gives you the commands that you can actually just copy paste, and all my wonderful viewpoints. I tend to write a lot about Elastic, a lot about different MITRE frameworks, things like that. So
Ivan, can you drop that link in the chat?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out how to do. Where's the chat?
Check your. Well, if you stop sharing, it'll
Yeah, I was
pop
gonna
up.
say I'm gonna stop sharing so I can actually see what I'm doing. Here we go.
Yeah.
Shameless advertisement.
Beautiful. All good. You do so much for us, Ivan. We're very grateful.
So yeah, thank you all for joining us. Definitely. This is my first time speaking at a meetup, so this was awesome. And I'll definitely try to do my best to attend more meetings as well. So hope to see you guys all. And thank you for giving me the opportunity, the organizers and everything. This was a lot of fun. Definitely suggested if you're out there, and you think, oh, wow, that's kind of neat. You got to like play music and stuff.